Okay. So I also may interrupt just if we have additions who may need translation. And maybe let me just kind of establish now with our district translator who's here, Ms. Michelle Macias. If someone jumps in, Michelle, maybe you can type in Spanish in the chat and we can find out if they need translation and adjust as needed. Okay. Thanks. So thank you, Greer family, for being here with us tonight. I'm excited to have Dr. Brian Wagner, who's our coordinator of special education here in Azusa Unified School District, and Miss Tavia Lawson, who is a former parent. Her son is 20, I believe she said now, but they are here to share with us about how parents and schools can partner in special education and share a resource with us for our parents in our district and surrounding districts as part of the Community Advisory Committee that is established in the East San Gabriel Valley. So I really don't want to take a lot of their time, but I do want you to know that if you have questions along the way, while we are a small group, I think we can manage a dialogue. So feel free to do that. If you'd like to use the chat to answer questions, we're happy to use that platform or that forum as well. And at the end, of course, we can come back and touch on any questions you might have as we go along. So I'm going to let Dr. Wagner present his screen, and that way you'll also be able to access the slides. If you want copies of the presentation tonight, it is the link is in the chat that I just shared. So without further ado, I will turn it over to our fantastic presenters.
Well, thank you. Good evening. I'm going to share my screen and then start our presentation. So just give me 30 seconds here. You should now see the presentation. Is anyone having any difficulty? The one thing that's fun with this part of the process is I don't see you anymore.
It's working. You see it. Thank you. Yeah, that's right.
So again, we are here to talk about the parent-school partnership in special education. And I feel very fortunate to have Tavia here to participate and present a lot of information about our organizations in our local community, but also within the East San Gabriel Valley. So that being said, I'm going to jump right in and just want you to look at this slide and kind of review it. It is our district mission and vision. And our key point here is that concept that we are talking about all children within our community and all children that the district serves. That includes our students with special needs as well. And we are very excited and recognize the importance of that inclusion. In looking at the major legislation that derives special education, it is the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, often called IDEA or IDEA. The key components of that legislation are first the insurance of the availability of a free, appropriate public education in what we call the least restrictive environment. We often call that FAPE, and I'll dive into that a little bit more. The second part is that we are focusing on the unique needs of our students that are in our programs here. And then finally, our three areas of goal for the student are to prepare the student for their future education, employment, and of course, their independent living. As you look at the IEP process, or the individual education plan, things to remember. One is first they occur on a yearly basis, at least once a year. The team needs to consist of the parent administrator, the teacher or teachers involved, and then the service providers. Um, as we look at the common parts, we always want to make sure we focus in on student strengths, um, involving the parents, especially noting your parent concerns, the present levels of performance, and how the student is doing currently, and then looking at both the goals that were worked on during the year and then also future goals or proposed goals. And we have one area that we look at called special factors that talks about special services for students who have what we call low incidence um, services or disabilities, such as vision impairment or um, deaf, hard of hearing. Uh, we also focus in on the area of behavioral needs with that special factors in some cases. Then also, we always look at the state assessments and how we can accommodate those statewide assessments for our students with special needs. And then once again, we focus in on that offer of a free, appropriate public education. So basically, what is that free, appropriate public education and how do we develop it? Um, First, we want to make sure that we're always looking at the data, that we're looking at assessments that we have conducted, um, always including observations of the student in multiple settings. That may include the home, the environment in the school, outside of the classroom, and definitely in that classroom instructional environment. And then finally, we want to make sure that we are gathering information from all of our stakeholders. You know, parents are definitely part of that process, stakeholders within the school, classroom teachers, and educational specialists, and of course, again, those service providers. And again, it's making sure that we all provide information um, so that we make sure that we are linking to the student's needs and linking to having a universal picture of that student. As you're in the IEP, some recommended questions that we always want to make sure that parents are aware of, and as we're thinking about how to participate. One is making sure that we understand that what are the goals for my child? Um, as we look at those goals, what standards are they linked to? Next is how those goals are being measured. And one important link is linking yourselves as parents to how you can assist outside of the school day. Um, this is a key element of our current setting with distance learning, and we're all taking on new roles in this process. And we do really appreciate that and recognize that, both the challenges and the successes that we are seeing in this new environment. Um, One other piece that's really important to recognize is, again, asking questions within that process. And knowing that you have an expert in the room that sees your child and works with your child regularly in that teacher. And they are literally the expert on um, your child's learning process. Again, we do have a current impact from the distance learning or from the school closure. First of all, we do have what's known as the distance learning block plan that has classes every day for students and has specific times when students are to participate. We do have what we call a distance learning plan for emergency circumstances that all parents with students of special needs have received. That plan gives some of the differences that have to occur because of the fact that we are in distance learning. We do recognize we can't provide all of the services and all of the programs the way we would in in-person instruction. So that is the major reason we do have that emergency plan for emergency circumstances. And finally, in that distance learning block plan, there is specific time for special education to support students and work with them on their goals. As we look at the parent-school partnership, one, we want positive partnerships and recognize that they are critical to the success of the student. Two-way communication is always recommended, and participating in school events is recommended. And finally, linking to your community supports. As we look at the community supports, one of the things that we do participate in as Azusa Unified School District is something known as the SELPA, or the Special Education Local Planning Area. We participate in the East San Gabriel Valley SELPA. It consists of several districts in our local area, and that district or that organization provides services for students and basically meets their special needs from birth to 22. One example of the services that are linked within the SELPA is we have designated districts that provide specific services. For example, Azusa Unified School District provides the services for our visually impaired students in the local area. So any student in the East San Gabriel Valley area who needs that service would have that service provided by staff from Azusa Unified. The SELPA is also an educational organization that provides links for parents, and I'm going to turn the program over to our president of our Community Advisory Committee, also known as the CAC, to present as we move forward.
Thank you, Brian. The East San Gabriel Valley SELPA Community Advisory Committee is a group of parents appointed by, can you hear me? Oh, okay, thank you. The East San Gabriel Valley SELPA Community Advisory Committee is a group of parents that are appointed by their local school board to represent either their district or charter school. I am currently the parent representative for Azusa Unified School District. The majority of the parents have to have children with disabilities. Educators, students, community agencies, and parents who are in general education can join also. Under the Education Code, the committee must have a composition where the majority of members are parents of students with special needs. Representatives and alternates serve a 2-year term. And I'm going to tell you how the CAC has been helping during and before COVID. Next slide, please. How does the CAC help students, families, and educators? Prior to COVID, our newsletters were running quarterly. Now they're going monthly. We are also live streaming our business meetings where we discuss general and special education topics, and we work on our short and long-term goals. The CAC is now providing trainings virtually. We have been working with educators, those within the community, and statewide to bring trainings to families that they have been requesting. We also have moved all of our activities, presentations, and events virtually. The majority of them are on Zoom at this time. And we also review state and federal legislation. Our subcommittee meets with our legislators by providing input on general and special education policies. This year, we met with our representatives virtually. The CAC, we also disseminate information on our website, but especially now on social media. We added an Instagram page. We have Facebook and Twitter, And we also share our information with districts and charter schools. And then our information can also be found on our website or by subscribing to our newsletter. Next slide, please. The next two slides are some of the parents and educators who have participated in sharing information to families during the pandemic. At the top left corner is our Azusa Representative Maureen Harper. She's also the vice chair. She's doing a social distance Zumba class with her neighbors. And then the first picture on the bottom, her name is Miss Adela. She's from Charter Oak Unified School District. She's sharing information about the importance of gardening to promote Earth Day. And then also in these photos are members sharing about autism awareness, Down syndrome awareness, and then like activities that they've been doing at home. The next slide, please. And on this page, at the top left-hand corner is the Fahey family. During distance learning, one of the classes had a superhero themed party, so they went all out, as you can see. And on the picture at the bottom to the far left, that's Miss Hernandez. She teaches at Ellington School in Azusa. She was providing tips to her students regarding math. And then also pictured on this slide is my sister and I with our son promoting mental health. And that's her daughter, who's a gymnast. And then our SELPA director, Scott Turner, his wife was teaching their children during distance learning. And I believe they were building like an airplane with the cardboard box. And to the right is my dad and my son. My dad has a garden, so he shared about the importance of eating healthy during the pandemic. And then the pictures on the bottom are our new directors of special education in Covina Valley, Glendora USD, and Walnut Valley. And the members felt it was important to share stories with parents and educators to let you all know that you're not alone during this time. And if you would like to subscribe to our newsletter, please email cacselpa@gmail.com. You will receive a notification on how to sign up. Next slide, please. As a CAC, we felt it was vitally important to continue serving parents, students, and educators. Pictured here is one of our first CAC business meetings that was live streamed. I'm told we were one of the first CACs to live stream a meeting. This meeting took place in April. Our next business meeting will be scheduled on Tuesday, December 16th on our website from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Next slide, please. This slide was the first parent in-service that was hosted on Zoom. We collaborated with the California Autism Professional Training and Information Network, otherwise known as CAPTAIN. They help provide trainings regarding not only autism, but other developmental disabilities. This collaboration is between the Regional Center and several different SELPAs, such as Roland, Pomona, Hacienda, La Puente, and then, of course, the East San Gabriel Valley SELPA, and our Family Resource Center, Parents Place, which is located in West Covina, also helped the CAC with this particular training. Next slide, please. This year would have been our 6th annual Arts Festival, where students with disabilities get to showcase their artwork. In lieu of the Arts Festival, the members felt it was important to give families and students a break from distance learning. So we came up with the virtual family night. The first one was hosted in October, and different anonymous donors donated family incentive prizes. The families and the students had a lot of fun meeting each other and playing bingo. It was such a great success that we're going to be hosting another one on January 28th, 2021, and we welcome you to join us. In order to get the information, you can subscribe to our newsletter, but also the flyers are disseminated through your local school district. Next slide, please. Lastly, I felt it was important to say that as parents, we play a vital role in our children's lives. My son used to attend school in Gladstone Elementary School. And one thing that I found was that participating in at least one of these activities, it kept me informed as a parent. For example, at back to school nights, it gave me the opportunity to meet other teachers and to get to understand what the school had to offer for my child. I also feel it's important to look into different types of school activities to have your children involved in. And then your school site council provides the opportunity to voice your concerns with the school or to give them ideas. And you get to meet not only parents, but educators. And then your parent-teacher association as well. You get to be a voice, and you also get to meet educators and teachers. And then for school board meetings, I always recommend for parents to attend these meetings because you get to hear what's going on in your school district. And you also get to participate in public comment if you have any input. Okay, next slide. So does anyone have any questions for Brian and I?
Batavia, thank you so much. And Dr. Wagner, thank you for that. I guess the only, the question I have is, and maybe I've already heard the answer, but I'm just not aware of it, but what kind of, community forums are there, or what opportunities do we as parents have to communicate and network with families in other districts of the SELPA? And it'd be great to understand which specialties each district has.
Okay.
You're muted, Brian.
Do that at least 6 times a day these days. So do you want to talk about Parents Corner a little bit more? And I think that's probably one of the most relevant resources there, as well as the CAC.
Yes, so I know with the CAC, when you become a member, we get to interact with different districts because we have disability awareness assemblies where we help promote inclusion of students. And even when we're doing our recent family virtual night bingo, there were families from Walnut District, Covina Valley, Claremont, Charter Oak, just to name a few.
That's great.
Davey, I'm just curious, how well represented is Azusa at some of these?
Yes, so our membership in Azusa is full, but there are some districts that allow an additional alternate. I believe Azusa could have one more alternate. Walnut Valley has 4 alternates. I would say right now, we have 15 local educational agencies that are part of the CAC. There's currently, I would say, 2 charter schools that need representation. So we're pretty full. It's about, I would say, 30 of us.
That's great. I think I was actually not so much on the CAC itself, but just kind of from a participation perspective.
So like families attending. Yeah. So prior to COVID, some of our trainings had at least 100, I would say between 80 to 100 families participating. And then at our annual arts festival, with volunteers, parents, students, I believe every district was represented. And it was for, we do pre-K up to middle school, but our dream is eventually to take it to high school.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions?
And looking at your second question, which was there, is what are the types of services that are offered throughout the SELPA?
Mm-hmm.
Well, first I would say that all of our districts within the SELPA have what I would call the standard structures for special education, that they have, inclusive programs, inclusion programs, special day class programs, RSP type programs. And then we do have districts that specialize. I mentioned Azusa specializes in visual impairment. At our secondary specialization is in orthopedic impairment, and finally with severely handicapped programs. Other districts within the SELPA provide also provide orthopedic impairment programs, as well as autism specific programs. And then of course we have a major program in Covina Valley for our deaf, hard of hearing students. So those are just some examples of the types of specializations that we see within the SELPA. And one of the things I would add, the major reason for doing that is there are expenses involved with that, but more importantly, for example, to have a teacher for the visually impaired. There are not a lot of teachers for the visually impaired, so if every district would have to have those teachers on their staff, it would be very, very hard to staff those positions. So that's one of the reasons we work together as more or less a consortium to make sure we're providing those supports for the students, and making sure those needs are being met.
Mm-hmm. Great, thanks.
All right, any other questions that you see?
I actually had a question. I wondered, Tavia, what would you say as a parent is like maybe the 1 or 2 most valuable or helpful things from the parent's perspective that you've been able to take away from your involvement in the CAC?
Wow, it's like I've been with them for about 11 years. We've really become like a family. So when we work together, listening to different parents' struggles, and we're like a team. So we work to help each other out. We've become like a big network. Like, so if I don't know something, another parent might know something. So we're constantly sharing with each other. And the other benefit is a lot of our parents from joining the CAC have actually started businesses and organizations to help those with disabilities. So for example, one of our members started a nonprofit where now she's educating families and educators in Ethiopia. Another parent started a gym to help children be able to have a safe place to play, like to do sensory and occupational therapy activities.
Wow. A lot of rich benefits coming out of that collaboration, and then your partnership with districts.
Yes,
Cool.
huge. So even with that, when 11 years ago when we started, it was probably like 5 of us. But then everyone started bringing their ideas, and so the SELPA website was created out of that. Social media, being able to collaborate with colleges. Like this past year, we collaborated with 3 colleges, working also with Department of Rehab, Workability. Just it's amazing to see like the growth.
Very impressive. And we are so grateful in Azusa to be part of this. And, I'm not sure if other SELPAs have such a well-established, CAC or even one at all. Is that something that other SELPAs do have? Or is this really unique for us? Are we kind of paving the way?
Well, CACs are throughout the state, but I have been told that we've been kind of paving the way for other ones. And we have been asked to speak to other SELPAs and CACs in the past to give them ideas on how to collaborate with each other. And even I would say within the past year or two, because of the pandemic, we are now including other CACs information in our newsletters and working with them to share information and inviting families to each other's trainings, because I feel that's important.
Right. That's rich and very exciting for our parents, our families, and most importantly, our students.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, and then our dream is to have a student member. There are other CACs that have a student member. We don't have one yet, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed.
Great idea. Great idea. Other questions, perhaps, from anybody? Well, we are super grateful, Greer family, that you could be with us this evening. And Aaron Kramer is here, and we know that you had many other choices for your entertainment this evening. And we're so glad that you chose the Azusa Parent Learning Network. This will be posted and shared out with many other parents. And so it will go beyond just this time span. We will have another session on December 15th, and that will be our noontime session. It will start at 12 noon, and there will be information coming out about that session on our district website. We're going to be turning back to helping students, parents, and specifically addressing distance learning needs. So if you're interested at noon, and if you can't make noon, of course, it's always recorded and on our website.